Hey guys, Malika Semper here from Malika Semper Astrology. We have a couple things happening this week. So the first thing I want to talk about is Venus is ingressing into the sign of Cancer. So when she shifts signs and archetypes, the energy completely changes for us regarding relationships here on Earth. Venus in Cancer, let's see, this is happening midweek. Let me look at the chart here. This is happening the last day of July. No, July 30th, at 8:57 p.m. So the evening, Wednesday evening, Venus moves into Cancer. And now our relationships take on a very important depth of emotion. You know, currently, today, she's still in Gemini. So things are still, this desire to connect intellectually, this desire to talk it out, to communicate, to do fun things, to be spontaneous with our loved ones. But she's completely shifting into the sign of the homebody, the one who requires feelings and emotions to come into the forefront. So when she moves into the sign in the heavens, we feel this down here on earth, as above, so below. So our relationships are going to take on a more personal touch. It's important for us. There's a desire to connect deeply and richly of the heart. Nurturing is going to come into the forefront too. She's going to be in Cancer until August 25th. So for the almost the whole month of August. And, it can also be a strengthening of family bonds happening under this particular sky, a strengthening of family bonds. And we want to connect with the women in our world. Mother energy really comes in strongly here. Our children really come in strongly here. But there's definitely a requirement, like we have to go deep emotionally when Venus is in Cancer. We can't do these, you know, surface level connections, surface level relationships when Venus is in Cancer. And so touching in on that piece of you that wants to connect deeply and richly with the other is going to be important here. We can also be a little bit moody when Venus is in Cancer. Cancer does have the reputations for some really magnificent mood swings. So we can feel that also showing up into our relationships. Cancer is the sign of the crab. The crab has a hard exterior shell. The crab moves sideways. They don't want you to know which way they're going to move next. They don't want you to know their next move, right? Um, with that hard exterior, cancers can get really internal and go inward, and they can seem tough on the outside. They are a cardinal sign. They can be bossy and initiatory as well. But inside, they're so soft. They take things so personally. They get really moody. A real shadow or a heavy part of Cancer is they do suffer from depression because they take on, the feelings of the collective, especially the feelings of their family. They can really internalize those. So, because it's Venus moving into this archetype, Venus represents relationships. So, all these things I just spoke to will have a tendency to show up within partnership, within relationship, and within your social circles. Like, we want to keep our circles tight and close to the heart when Venus is in Cancer. But definitely, I think in the forefront, it's the emotional bond and the emotional connection. We're now moving out of the importance of intellectual connection, Venus and Gemini, and we're dropping more into the heart space, being around family, having family activities and plans and things of that nature now is going to feel really good and be really important. There can be a lot of familial healing when Venus is in Cancer as well. And those of you guys who were born with Venus in Cancer, pay attention because you guys are coming up on your Venus return. Venus return is simply when, transiting Venus returns back to the position she was at the moment of your birth. So those of you who have Venus in Cancer, you're experiencing your Venus return sometime between now and August 25th, depending on what degree your Venus is. It lasts for about a week. And it's like Venus comes to bless you. So all things of the heart, people meet the love of their life during their Venus return, or they get married during their Venus return. It also represents finances. They win the lottery or they find $100 on the ground, things of that nature where you're just really being blessed in the way of the heart, especially. So People can have really special relationships forming during their Venus return, or really special people coming into their lives during that particular week. So if you were born with Venus in Cancer, pay attention. It's a really lucky time for you. Venus returns happen just once a year. And they're quick, they only last a week. So, really opening up your heart and being curious who shows up during that time. And even like self-care, self-love, self-nurturing is big with this one, right? Venus and Cancer. Now, the other thing coming in, let me look at the chart here. On the last day of July, we have what's called a Sun Mercury Cazimi, and that's just a fancy word for the Sun and Mercury meeting up at the exact same degree. It's in Leo. And Mercury is receiving the bright, warm, vital, life-giving light of the sun. So Mercury lights up. This is going to be exact at 4:41 p.m. Pacific on Thursday, July 31st. And Thursday, July 31st now becomes a really auspicious day where we suddenly have mental clarity. We suddenly have answers to the questions we've been asking, or to the doubts we've been having intellectually. Things suddenly start to become super clear. So, a Mercury Sun Cazimi, it's a beautiful day to speak up, because Mercury represents our voice, our thoughts, our intellect, the way we communicate and voice things. Thursday, perfect day to send that text, to send that email, to reach out to the person and say the thing you want to say, because our minds are so sharp and clear during this time. Ideas coming in, insights coming in, intellectual inspirations coming in, these ideas that are like, oh my God, why didn't I think of this before? Have the potential to come in when Mercury meets up with the sun. So pay attention to Thursday and see what sorts of conversations come in for you, the communications had that day. There's something important, something auspicious about what's being said that day, the information brought to you that day, but also the information you're giving out um, is super potent. Okay. So enjoy this week, and I will be back next week.